look, 90%, 95% of school shooters and homeless men and guys going to prison come from single mother households. Yeah, I think it goes back to because when we raise men with a feminine narrative, and you look at the differences between men and women, women are born with inherent value, and there are no repercussions to their actions because we as men have been taught that you don't hit women, and and you see in marriages and in domestic violence cases, violence from men and women in the home is about 50-50. There is not overwhelmingly men, but men have been taught that you don't hit a woman, and then the women have learned that there's no repercussions. So you have a lot of little boys raised by single mothers who, without meaning to, are training their boys that there's no repercussions for their actions because that's what they learned as women. And so we as men need to train these boys about repercussions. And you see how different it is from a boy who's had training, who's done martial arts, who's been in sports, who has confidence because he has experience, and he has confidence because he's actually experienced failing forward and trials and tribulations versus being coddled and bubble wrapped. And then he goes out in the world and he has all this social media and video games all up in his head and all this stuff where it's just a reset. So a lot of young boys don't see any real repercussions, and their moms, doing the best they can, don't train them in the way that boys need to be trained to realize how you fail forward, how you deal with repercussions, how you deal with violence. But all of us have had those moments where we're like, man, I almost died. And then we learn from that and go, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. And then we cross the wrong guy and he punches us in the face, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. These are how the ways and the things that most young men need to experience to understand what it means to be a man, to understand that line. And when we don't have that education, we don't have that experience, when we don't see that, and then we have the coddling and the bubble wrapping from moms and school systems, and we have this whole feminist narrative of, oh, masculinity is violent and it's wrong. Unhealthy masculinity is violent and wrong. It's a toxic person who didn't have the education to be a healthy man that causes all these issues. And you look, 90%, 95% of school shooters and homeless men and guys going to prison come from single mother households. It means they didn't have a man or a father in the home to teach them the repercussions of their actions. And that's what masculinity is for, especially when it comes to raising children. And that's what we're not seeing. And that's the biggest dilemma we have with young men in the world today, is that single mothers don't have the tools, and then demonize the fathers because of their upbringing or the emotional outlet, that, oh, the father's bad and the father's the problem. So these young men don't get the education from their father that they need to be a man in the world today.